You're listening to the Low Pressure Podcast, the podcast for skiers.
Presented by CMH Heli Skiing and Peak Performance.
I know it's only 10:30 in the morning, but cheers, buddy. You got your coffee going. That's fine. We'll drink a bunch of these later tonight. We're in Wiley Miller's house in your awesome garage.
Yes.
Slash guest room.
Yes. Many uses. It's a multi-purpose unit.
It's pretty sweet, man. Like I told you, I'm super impressed with your house. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for coming.
Glad we could do this. We're here for the, what's it called? The Powtown Revival
Powtown Revival Tour, yeah. Amy Engebretson and Todd Laguerre came to me this summer with the idea of putting together a tour that included a bunch of short films. You know, the kind of the status quo now for athletes is to kind of self-produce projects. And there's a lot more of that going on than there was, say, 5-10 years ago when everyone was just filming for the big four, whatever you want to call them, TGR Level 1, Matchstick, Poor Boys. I guess we're probably going on more than 10 years for Poor Boys.
Warren Miller.
So
we had that talk last night that Warren Miller is kind of like, it's almost like a standalone. It's a ski movie, but that's outside of like ski.
The industry.
Yeah.
Or at least the industry we're familiar with.
Yeah.
I am, and you.
Yeah. It's like when I was a kid, I was going to like Warren Miller films at like the Queen Elizabeth Theater, which is this big, massive, awesome theater in
Vancouver.
Yeah. And then when I started, doing like living in the ski town and doing ski stuff, I never heard of Warren Miller. It never came to the town. It never did anything. It's almost like it's a suburban, like city dwellers access to skiing, I think. not to be mean or anything like that. Like I'm not being rude, but it's just that's what it is.
Yeah.
It's not part of the core skiers like go to or repertoire, I guess, for watching.
Yeah. I guess we all kind of live in our own bubbles, but certainly not within mine. But I when I was little, I was, I'm guilty of going to the Warren Miller show because that's all we had in Billings.
Oh, that was good though. But they're still really fun and really good movies.
They're great.
But for some reason,
and their tour is huge.
For some reason, there's that weird separation.
There is.
With the core skiing and then like the mass public.
Yeah, the corporate monster.
Yeah, but they're huge. Like Amy was telling me yesterday that she's how many? I don't know how many she's doing this year.
Yeah,
and they're like
hundreds.
Like thousands of people go to these things. I wonder how you can combine the two to like the TGRs and the MSPs. They get some decent turnouts too, but I don't think it's anything like the Warren Miller movies. Maybe it's just the longevity of it and his name.
Yeah.
It's that name that people associate with skiing. Oh, do you know Warren Miller? Like, you know what I mean? You go meet somebody's mom or at the grocery store or something.
Yeah, it's built in. Mm-hmm. It's built into the community and the annual fall ski film premiere that comes to town all across America.
Yeah.
So that's cool. That's good. Mm-hmm. It's good we have that.
So Powtown Revival is sweet because it's like, how many films are you showing tonight?
Well, the films change every tour stop kind of depending on what's been shown in that town or who's hosting. But tonight we're showing obviously my film, Amy's film, Todd's film, Sam Cohen's film, and then John Spriggs and my buddy Ed Clem, who lives here, is showing their film, which I have a small part in. So that's the 5 films. We also have a kind of a last minute shoe in with some local, like this local group of chick skiers that put together a little 2-minute edit. So we're going to play that as well.
Sick.
It is, the shows have been primarily free.
Yeah.
That was a bit kind of the premise of the whole thing, was to make it a free event. We're showing it at the Emerson, and I think that's kind of unique here because the Emerson, from what I know, has never been free for a ski film. So we're hoping to pack the house.
Nice. Is it like what's the venue like? Obviously we'll be there tonight, but I haven't seen it.
Yeah, it's just like, it's a traditional theater, and then there's a ballroom kind of adjoining the theater, which is just a big kind of multi-use space. They serve beer in the ballroom. We're going to have some tables set up. There's going to be merchandise and artwork for sale in there, and it's just a really nice kind of open space to socialize before going into the theater.
Yeah.
So that's the venue we have tonight. It's gonna be should be fun. Yeah.
Yeah, man, I'm pumped. I'm pumped. Like, I was I don't know why I ended up coming down here. Like, what made me do it? But I think I was just
COVID. The borders open.
Well, maybe. Like, I was super busy doing my own thing, and then I saw that there was a tour here.
Yep.
And then I guess tomorrow is Jackson.
Yep.
Is it tomorrow night?
Tomorrow night's Jackson.
Yeah,
back
so
to
we
back.
gotta pack up and we gotta get out of here.
Yeah. And
so I figured I'd just like, hey, I just gave you a shout, and you're like, yeah, come stay at my house. I'm like, all right, cool. There's one box ticked. I'm like, I could probably get a few handful episodes done.
Yep.
And then you're like, yeah, you come just do it at my house. And I walk in and you've got this wicked, awesome spot. Perfect. And you're like, yeah, just set up in here and do like 3 or 4. There's gonna be like a handful of people rolling through the Wiley Miller Fat Tire podcast studios today. So,
yeah, it's good. I'm glad we can use it.
Yeah, man. And it's good to see you too. It's funny. Yesterday you picked me up at the airport. I got to share the story, but you picked me up at the airport and then you took me shopping. You had to get a heater, but still, you're like, you should buy those. You should buy some Carhartts.
I wanted to get you looking like you. I wanted you to look like you wanted to be in Montana. Maybe not necessarily that you like are from here or spend a lot of time here.
You're just trying to cover your ass so that like the weird Canadian doesn't stand out like a sore thumb.
No, I want you to stand out like a sore thumb.
Oh, he did. He's like, you should buy a pair of Carhartts, which I did. I will. I went and I bought a pair of Carhartts. I'm wearing them now because they're super expensive at home. It was like the Carhartt Superstore. But then you're like, the Dumb and Dumber sweater jackets.
Yeah.
You're like,
dude. Yeah. Like those guys, they show up in Aspen and they like are trying to fit in, but they obviously don't.
Yeah.
I was trying to kind of.
They were sweet, but it looked way better on you. It's too bad you didn't have your size. And then you're like, how about a cowboy hat? I'm like, oh yeah, this actually looks really nice. And you're like, you should get it.
We're still going to get a cowboy hat for you.
It's pretty expensive though.
We'll find a cheap one. A bigger one that's cheaper.
The Weimaraner for cowboy hat.
We're gonna get you a really big, cheap one that you don't have to worry about losing tonight.
All right, we'll just. Have you ever? You
can find a cute girl to give it to.
Right? Oh, that'll work. Bring her back to your house.
Hey man.
Have you ever heard of like shoey? You know, when someone like wins an event or whatever, and they pour booze in the shoe, or you spill beer, you get a shoe. Don't do that. Sorry. Okay. When you touch it, it doesn't like you.
Okay.
But you do the shoe. You pour booze in the shoe and do the shoe. Is the hat a thing? Like pouring beer into the hat and then drinking it out of the hat?
I haven't seen that yet.
What's worse? Pouring beer in a shoe and then putting your shoe back on, or pouring beer in a hat and putting your hat back on?
I would think the shoe. I'd rather drink out of a hat than a shoe, but I don't know, man. Some people's heads are pretty gross.
Maybe we should start the hat. We should choose the hat for like the funnel, the way it's built, and the how the ridges work, whatever. Yeah. What you call that? However it's formed.
Yeah, and how a little funnel in it.
We got to find however it flows the best.
Yeah,
and just do hat shots all night.
Yeah.
And they'll be like, "Where are you from?" I'm like, "Canada. We do this up here all the time." Eh?
Can we talk about masks?
If you'd like to. I was thinking about bringing it up, but I was going to say, like, nobody wears masks here. And you were like, don't wear your mask. Well, at home, if you don't wear your mask, you're like, why aren't you wearing your mask? I'm from, very liberal West Coast Canada, right?
Yeah.
And then I came here, I'm like, so if I wear my mask, like, am I going to get shot? And you said, yes. Don't wear your mask.
Well, yeah, disclaimer. I mean, I'm not for or necessarily against masks in any direction. I find it difficult to breathe wearing one. I have worn one when I've been asked to, and certainly wear one when I think it's necessary. But yeah, we have not been wearing masks here in Montana for a long time. And it's funny because I have friends like yourself that come visit and you show up and you're immediately kind of like surprised to see the lack of masks being worn here in Montana. And, we are a very Republican conservative state. So,
it's interesting because we went to the restaurant last night and people were wearing masks, like the servers and stuff. Cool. When we went to the bar after, nobody wearing masks in the bar.
Right. So it was like kind of more of liberal restaurant, if you want to call it that.
So it's their choice, I guess.
And then that bar was certainly more of a...
Yeah. I was like, are they going to be like, are they start yelling, take off your mask? And I'm like, I'm sick. I don't care. Spit in my mouth for freedom or something like that, like not to like alienate anybody, but it's just such a ridiculous thing. Like, I was telling you, back in the day, like before the pandemic, and we used to like comment or make fun of Japanese people because they're weird because they always had their masks on, but it was a courtesy thing. It's when they got sick, they put a mask on,
right?
Because they didn't want anybody else to get sick,
right?
And that's like the thinking is that from where I'm from, a lot of it is the courtesy of like, oh, I don't want to get anybody else sick,
right? Whereas
here it's like, I would only wear masks. I don't want to get sick, but fuck that. I don't care. I'm going to do whatever I want, right? It's like a reversal thing. It's more of like I'm thinking more about myself than thinking about you. I think, I don't know. Do you know how many people just turned this thing off, like, or fast forwarded?
Nobody wants to
the political mask conversations. I don't care.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I don't really know. I just know why I don't like wearing a mask, but I certainly see the benefits and the reasons for wearing a mask. So, I don't know.
Do you have any, like, because you said, can we talk about masks? Do you have any other, like, because maybe you had some burning
I just wanted to
social commentary.
I just wanted you to comment on your thoughts of potentially getting shot at in Montana for wearing a mask.
Am I either going to die of COVID or of a bullet wound from a hunting rifle? To see a guy, I can see a guy in the bushes being, there's one.
Yeah.
I got him right in the mask.
Yeah.
It's interesting. It's definitely interesting. Like I'm double vaxxed and I actually got COVID back in April. Mm-hmm. And then I was actually really sick last week after the I3 festival. My body was I was just running on like high revs all week, and then I finally got a rest, and I got so sick. And I'm like, not again. And I went to the doctor, and just an old-fashioned cold, bud. Yeah. Just like we used to back in the day, right?
Who would have thought?
But still, it was like, I don't know. I'm glad that it's, even though I don't pay attention to it anymore. It seems like numbers are still pretty high in certain places, but I just don't pay attention to the news and mask up where I need to and try not to get shot, put my mask in my pocket when I don't need to. It'd be funny if you like a Montana mugging. Hey, empty your pockets. Be like, oh, here's my money. I don't want your money. Give me your mask. And then have them take it away. The mask thing was never really that, the majority of the state, and Bozeman's the most liberal part of Montana, so we probably carried the mask mandate longer than any other part of the state. I don't think I just hate how it's politicized. Like, I don't care, liberal, totally. Republican, I don't give a fuck, man. Just don't cough in my face, and I won't cough in your face. And I think that the majority of people that are against wearing a mask is just the discomfort of wearing one. I mean, I don't like this, so I'm going to make it a personality trait. Yeah. What do you think about, like, the ski resorts and stuff? I know certain resorts, you have to mask up. Certain ones you don't. I know, like, Whistler Blackcomb, you have to wear it if in the lodges and stuff, but you don't have to wear one in a crowded gondola, which is kind of confusing to me. That's the place that I'd want to, because you can see, like, last year I became very aware of this, like, being in a gondola with people. And it's like a moist environment and it's like whatever. And like you can see breath. Yeah. And then during like the start of the pandemic last year, and I could see people's breath and I could see it like billowing and you're like, ugh. Yeah. You're trying to avoid, stop breathing on me because I can actually see it. And you're like, there's COVID in there. Right? So when you're in the gondola, it's like you can actually see people's breath like enveloping you. And it's like, oh my God, I feel so gross. Yeah. But like in a restaurant or whatever, you can't see it. So it's almost better. I don't know. Yeah. I don't like packing in a gondola anyway with a bunch of people. Sometimes it's cool, but if I'm on a pow day and you're gonna have to. Yeah, sometimes you meet some cool people. Most of the time everyone just kind of keeps themselves. So you're based right in Bozeman, Bozeman's not massive. You live pretty close to downtown. You're close to the airport. You got a sweet place. Where you skied here all last year. Yep. Right? So where are your spots? So say you said that you were telling me about 3 or 4 different zones that are kind of within an hour or two away, but say you're at home, it dumps all over the state. Where are you going tomorrow?
All over the state.
Let's say every spot in town in Montana gets hit on the same day.
Yeah, on the same. I mean, if I'm home, if I'm here in Bozeman, there's some kind of more sneaky sled zones around here that I would go to. Within say 20 minutes from my house. Yeah, just on the outskirts of town. Heading a little further to the southeast. Just kind of on the north side of Yellowstone National Park, we have the Beartooth and the Absaroka Range.
They're called the Absarokas?
Absaroka. I don't know. If you look at the word, it looks like it's Absaroka. Mm-hmm. And I think that actually might be the correct term, but just growing up, everybody I've known in my hometown call them the Absarokas. Mm-hmm. So I don't know. I think it's like a white man's like conversion of a, Native American name, Absaroka.
Like Canada, used to be.
Yeah, something like
I don't want to butcher it. It used to be a different word I was going to say. Like where I'm from, Coquitlam is the town I grew up in like a suburb of Vancouver, Coquitlam. Yeah. But that's like a version. That's like a white man's version of like river, like Coquitlam or something like that. I think it's river. Yeah. But yeah, exactly. It's the white man's version of a native name.
Yeah, we just don't pronounce it right. But then like it's funny because all the visitors that come here, people that didn't grow up in Montana, they see that name and they actually pronounce it right. But it sounds weird to me.
Oh yeah.
Because you look at it and you want to pronounce it. It's not a. I don't know.
Because it's a word you look at and you have to think about before you say it.
A little bit, yeah. It's weird. But those two mountain ranges to the southeast of here are very large ranges, huge, massive. I mean, the largest mountain in Montana is in the Beartooth over there at Granite Peak. They get a ton of snow in parts, and there's a lot to be explored over there.
Mm-hmm. As you just pretty much snowmobile these days?
Snowmobile and ski tour, I kind of split. There's a lot. So here in the States, especially here around Bozeman, we have a lot of wilderness areas, which up in Canada, you guys, in fact, I really appreciate the land designations you guys have in Canada, because you either have like provincial parks, crown land, or private land.
Yeah.
There's like
provincial park, you follow by the rules. Private land, you don't go on, and crown land, you do whatever you want.
Crown land, you do whatever you want. And then here in the States, we have like significant, well, not significant, but we have a few more land designations that kind of muddy the waters with what you can do on what and where. And we have wildernesses, which are not parks, and they're not national forest land where you can which is similar to crown land. But it's
kind of a gray area that they're just waiting to sell to some kind of oil developer.
No, actually, no, they're protected. Oh, okay. They're pretty much like parks, but they're not accessible. There's no public access.
Oh, but are you allowed to go in there?
Yeah, you're allowed to go in there on foot.
But there's just no like roads or
there's no roads.
No
there's
facilities, no infrastructure.
You can't ride mountain bikes in them.
Oh, really?
No,
like nothing.
You can only do non-motorized, so you can do pack horses in wilderness. You can walk, you can ski tour, and a lot of kind of some of the zones, more kind of adventurous zones around here. You sled in, park at the boundary, and then walk.
Could you ride a small or a tiny horse in there?
You could ride a tiny horse in there.
Yeah, apparently you know a guy with some small horses.
We have a friend in town with some tiny horses.
Yeah. So you could do a tiny horse caravan.
Yeah, they might not do too well in deep snow.
How awesome would that ski film be? The tiny horse. What would you call it?
Yeah, the tiny horse caravan. Actually, this is kind of on a side note. I am trying to pitch this trip. I just got my commercial pilot's license.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was going to ask you about that.
And I'm trying to get creative with ways to use it. You're as a commercial pilot, you're not as an initial commercial pilot. You're very limited in what you can do. A lot of people think you get a commercial pilot's license and you can go fly for Delta or United or SkyWest or something like that. That is a
few steps farther.
That's down the line for sure.
Like I was thinking just yesterday when we were taxiing around the airport, and I was like, okay, there's like 12 planes over there, and there's a plane that just crossed in front of us, and we got to go through, and it's kind of like a road with basically a road with intersections and all that kind of stuff. And I'm like, so are they talking to the air traffic controller? Like, do they know where they're driving? And I'm like, that itself is probably like a good few months of learning and stuff.
Yeah, just learning to communication. Radio communication is surprisingly can be one of the more like difficult things to learn, because it's you're trying to fly a plane and listen and talk, and it can be a high work in like a high workload environment.
So finish your trip idea, and then I'm going to ask you about your commercial license.
Well, so there is a law that it's called ditching, when you eject items.
Passengers?
Well, if the passengers are going out, hopefully they have parachutes. But you can get rid of gear.
He's wearing a mask.
You can drop
Get him
gear.
out. Sorry.
Right, yeah. We just throw the people that are wearing
Is
masks.
that a mask
out of
in your pocket? Open the doors.
Anyways, you can ditch. It's called ditching, so you can ditch.
Drop gear out. Gear drops and
It's
stuff.
like what the Mexicans do with the cocaine when they come over the U.S. border. They throw it out of the plane and then fly back
So
to
who
Mexico.
funded all this commercial pilot school for you there, buddy?
I did, myself.
Yeah, you have spent a lot of time in Mexico lately, though.
Yeah, I don't know.
I might have to delete this part. You're going to get a phone call from
turn
like
off the-
from an unlisted number.
No. All the pilot. The pilot thing is it's something I've actually. In fact, I became passionate about flying when I went for a flight with Rory Bushfield up in Canada in 2010. Mm-hmm. He took me for a flight with me, Sarah, and Tanner Rainville. So the late Sarah Burke. We all went for a flight in his 172. And actually thinking back on it, I'm like, man, because I never put 4 people in the 72 that I fly. I'm like, yeah, well. I'm sure he was probably low on fuel or something.
Because that's one of the things too. You're like, oh hey, yeah, come on down. Like we're gonna fly to Jackson tomorrow, and like maybe we can fit you in the plane. I was like, oh, I'm in. But then you're like, oh, I'm not too sure I'm comfortable with that. Like, how much do you weigh? But like that makes sense, right? Like you gotta, and then you were telling me like I gotta do all the calculations and things. And I'm like, oh, that really makes sense, because you have to be very specific with how much fuel you have. I'm assuming it's how much fuel you have and the weight of the fuel and the weight of the people, and then
the plane. It's the performance of the plane too. You have the plane in the set where the CG, the center of gravity, is.
Yep.
I mean, we can put 4 people in the plane I fly, but we pretty much can't have any gear.
No, you get like wallet and keys, pretty much, right?
And I'm assuming that Todd and Amy might have some gear. I don't know. I could ask them. We can figure that out tomorrow or later today. But yeah.
So basically, you want to do trips where you can go back to a zone,
like
a wilderness area, and then drop a load, and then tour in without having to pull it in, sort of thing.
Yeah, I need to look into it more. And
are you thinking like Montana specifically? Because you could go up to BC and do that for sure. Yeah,
we could do it. I mean, but the beauty of doing it here, and as long as you're not endangering any person or animal or anything, you can ditch gear. And
just land on a Wolverine or something like that.
Yeah, I mean, you want to pick a nice spot to put it, safe spot that's not going to endanger anything. Those are the laws. And but I was thinking you could get rid of some, maybe like a nice big tent that would otherwise be very heavy to haul up. And obviously, when you're done, you're not going to be able to fly it out of there, so you just would carry it out. But ideally, it's mostly downhill on the way out.
Yeah, on like a sled or something.
Yeah, you'd have to tow it out because you can't snowmobile into these areas.
No, I mean like an actual like a plastic sled that
exactly.
Yeah.
So you wouldn't have to tow it up, but you'd tow it out.
Unless you can do what Bushy does and put some skids on your plane. And
you could, but you still can't land in wilderness.
Oh yeah, get a helicopter and hover.
So yeah, I mean that's kind of like
just do a flyby and everybody try and toss stuff into the door like.
Well, and besides that, I mean, there's lots of non-wilderness areas where you can go snowmobile around here. I mean, we have the Bridgers, we have, parts of the Beartooth and the Absaroka that you can go sled in. And we have the mountain south here, the northern Gallatin Range. Some areas you can sled in, southern Madison, some areas. But there is a lot. It's certainly not as vast as BC. The amount of mountains that you have in Crown Land up there is just endless.
It's most of it. most of the land up there, right?
It's mind-boggling to think of, here you just can't go forever because the mountains are more isolated and smaller.
Yeah.
They're up in BC, they just go from
Alaska.
They go all the way to Alaska. You literally cannot. You could just travel through mountains all the way to the north. You'd have to cross some valleys, I'm assuming, but yeah, I don't know. It's different, but it's cool. It's cool to I always am a big fan of exploring and trying to find new zones and figuring out how to get in and get out safely.
So that's kind of that's in the brain. Like that's the brainstorming right now.
Mm-hmm.
The gears are turning to figure out, hey, what kind of trip can we turn this into where I can utilize this? So you got your commercial license. Is it like an international license, or is it strictly for America? Or just if you wanted to fly in Canada, would you have to do a specific Canadian equivalency test sort of thing?
Yeah, so I actually have a Canadian private license, so I can fly privately up there, not on a commercial level. I can just, like, if I wanted to go to Canada. So your license pertains to the aircraft. Mm-hmm. So I have a commercial license. I can fly commercially in American aircraft, and I can fly privately in Canadian
And that's like
aircraft.
You can get a job with someone,
Yeah.
right? Like could you fly? Are you at a level where you could fly like a private jet for? You told me that they're building like a new hangar for the Yellowstone Club for that private ski resort, which I didn't really know anything about. But could you fly one? Are you like can you classify to fly one of those planes?
Yeah, I'd have to go get type rated in. I'd have to get my there'd be a few hurdles, but yeah, it would be.
It's a few tiers still, just a little bit more schooling.
Yeah, it's very minimal. I'd have to go get my multi-engine, which is just, I think, 10, 15 hours a time. And then I'd have to go get type rated, because you're talking about a turbojet aircraft.
I am?
Yeah, you are.
Thanks.
I think you are.
Yeah, I have no idea what they are. Just like a cool jet that people spend a lot of money
jet,
on.
yeah. So jets have a little bit more, they require a type rating.
A G6. That's something
so you got to get type rated for G6.
Rap music.
But if you if I'm flying single engine aircraft, I don't need a type rating.
No. And do you plan
single
on
engine like piston or even turbo prop, I think.
Is like the plan to get work that way now too?
Yeah, I'm planning to fly commercially outside of winter.
Just your summer job.
Yeah, I'm gonna I have a plan to do some part-time work next summer flying oil pipeline around here in eastern Montana, which as we all know, eastern Montana is kind of flat, but
now would that be like to fly staff in and out kind of thing?
No, you fly the pipeline, you survey the pipeline, you make sure that no one's messing with it.
Oh, so you're just looking at it.
You're looking at it from there. You're flying a plane with a camera on the belly.
Oh, so you're just like making sure that there's no leaks, so there's no
leaks. Make sure no one's digging near it. You make sure
there's no river spilled its banks and is flowing over it and stuff like that. So you're just keeping an eye on it. You're checking it out.
Yep,
that's a cool job. You don't really have any consequence other than flying and reporting.
Right. Sometimes you can get forced to fly in like adverse weather, but that is a friend of mine here in Bozeman has a couple contracts for some of the pipeline stuff out there. And, I know oil is a controversial issue, and I don't necessarily like the thought of like working for the big oil companies.
I'm keeping an eye on it to make sure it doesn't spill everywhere, right? But that's a good angle.
The plan there, that's just like an hour. So once you get your commercial, you're just allowed to kind of build hours and get paid, or get your flying paid for. In essence, the FAA looks at free flight hours. So if someone just pays for me to fly a plane but doesn't even pay me, looks at that as compensation, because for every hour you fly, that you're building time towards potentially a better job.
Oh, okay. Because it's basically experience points, right? It's
exactly.
It's like seniority, in lack of a better term. Right?
Yeah, and it's kind of lame. I mean, but I only have 400 and some hours, and
I would rather have a dude that has 400,000 hours or 4,000 hours than, no offense, than a guy with 400. If I was looking at a resume, right?
Yeah.
I don't care how good a skier you are. But that's sweet, because and then like you live right next to the airport, which is probably not a coincidence.
No, it was very convenient. When I moved here, I was looking for a place to live, and I stumbled into this spot. So, and it's like 10 minutes from the airport.
5 minutes to town.
5 minutes. I can ride my bike downtown. It's 20 minutes to Bridger Bowl.
Is that where you're skiing, like for resort skiing?
No, I ski mostly Big Sky. I work with Big Sky on some of their like kind of social media shooting. They have a staff filmer, cinematographer that they
so you just like, hey, we need some content. We're gonna give you an early up tomorrow morning. It looks like it's gonna be good.
Exactly.
Meet us at 6.
It's usually like early season to get people hyped on going up there. We'll go to shoot. We shot some like groomers last year up there in like November, December, and
Do you have those shots?
Do I have
Wiley,
it?
more teeth. Let's smile. Drop your, just doing full on carving turns. Do
Yeah.
you have a pair of carving skis? You're just ripping up the groomers on your 118s.
Pretty much.
I got to tell you, I was telling you this last night. I dig those 118s, man.
Nice. Yeah.
And I wanted to ask you about this. So I've had lots of different pairs of skis over my lifetime. And I know you've been building skis for what, a good 10, 15 years now through Forefront before RMU now.
Yeah.
And you know that
Designing,
thank you. When you put a pair of skis on, and sometimes it takes you, a few laps to kind of figure out how they work, right? Okay, where's my center point? Where's my balance point? Where do I need to put the edge on? Where's the pressure control? That sort of thing. And one pair of skis that I ever had where I clipped in and I took like one lap and I was like, oh, these were made for me, like exactly for me. And those were the Hojis.
Yeah.
Right. And you worked with Hoji.
Yeah.
And then when I tried the 118 this last year at the end of the season, I was like, I love these skis, man. Like they reminded me very similar to that feeling I got with the Hoji. A little different. And I was wondering if that's because of did you work with Hoji when you were working with Forefront? I know you each kind of had your own development, and I'm sure you traded a lot of information. You guys have kind of similar, you have different styles, but you ski the same terrain, that kind of stuff. And I was wondering, do you think that had kind of some of an influence, is working with Forefront and working with that, or
Yeah, well, it was interesting because when, Forefront, I got to do that first YLE ski, which was pretty much an oversized park ski. And that ski ran in the line for, 8 years or something, 7 years maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe less, I'm not sure. And then when Forefront got sold and the team got cut down, I moved on to RMU.
Did you take all of your plans and all of your shape and all that kind of stuff? Did they really just take that to RMU, or did you have to start from scratch based on what you remember?
Well, no, because it's interesting, because during kind of the last few years at Forefront, I had another idea for a design. My skiing has kind of evolved or changed a little bit more towards free ride and less freestyle, but I free ride with freestyle mixed in, spinning natural takeoff, spinning in the middle of a mini golf line. That's kind of what I really like doing now. I don't, you can't, it's going to take a lot of effort to get me to bust my shovel out and build a jump this day and age. Although I built my career on building jumps in the backcountry.
You've done it, son.
I'm not.
You got to find a bunch of young kids to do it, and you got to coach them. They should put a block right there.
I just can't. I just have a hard time going out anymore. And it's going out into the mountains. There's so much effort required, and each day is so special just to take the effort to go out into the mountains and to spend the day standing in the snow digging a jump when you could be just riding all day,
Finding some natural terrain and maybe stomping a takeoff, maybe getting a shovel for
there you go
5 minutes to pack down a takeoff, right? Rather than build a big old cheese wedge.
I'm out there to ride. I'm not out there to dig. And I used to be out there to dig and hit jumps, but it's not the way I want to ride anymore. It's not how I want to spend my time in the mountains. So, with that came the thought of a new, different ski design. A more directional ski that doesn't have such a crazy, twin tip tail, more, subtle lines and, more subtle blend curves, all that stuff. A little more.
I dig it.
That's
my style of skiing, man. I'm not a jibber. I've never been.
Yeah.
I've never
but
really,
you can still hit a jump switch.
Exactly, right? You can land switch, but it's this is maybe it was influenced by your days skiing Blackcomb.
Yeah, for sure. I remember when we got the ski developed, I was in love with it. I still ski it a lot, and now we got a chance. I got a chance last winter to design a new ski, this kind of crazy short asymmetrical fat thing. Have you seen it?
The butter knife?
Yeah.
The SR, the Shlong rack. Okay, I got to ask you about that. The SR, but where did that come from?
The Shlong rack?
I wasn't even going to bring that up, but I'm glad you did. I forgot about it.
Well, yeah. So we wanted to call this. The initial ski name was the Shlong Rat.
Yeah, just because it was just a name that was.
I had a friend in California, and he's got a wiener dog, Boston Terrier mix kind of thing.
Call him the Shlong Rat.
He calls it the Shlong Rat. It's just kind of this
yeah
mutt of an animal. Great dog, But so anyways, catchy name. I just decided to run with it with a ski design, especially the ski. It's a little weird. It's short. Doesn't look.
It's got that little, almost like each tail has got a cutout. So when you put it together, it's almost like a swallowtail.
Exactly. And
instead of having a swallowtail individually on each ski, it's kind of cut out onto the inside edge that when you ski like me with your legs together, it acts as it's like a swallowtail.
Yeah. And a swallowtail to me is you're removing surface area, you're removing float in the tail to help increase lift and float in the nose. Mm-hmm. The tail goes down, the nose should go up, in theory. And I've ridden, actually the inspiration for that ski came from a swallowtail snowboard that I was riding in Revelstoke one day, and with my buddy Oliver, aka the Garbage Bear.
The Garbage Bear.
We were riding in Revy, and I was just so blown away by this snowboard. It was just cruising through the trees effortlessly. And on my 118s, I can't really make these short radius floaty turns. I kind of have to almost hop turn because the ski wants to go fast. The ski is designed to perform at a higher speed, say a moderate to high speed.
We're going to go smash some turns out. We're going to go
longer radius turns that don't necessarily
faces, couloirs, big airs. Yeah, not necessarily like a tree ski, but it still handles well.
Trees can be tight, so it's tighter, more open, but still the ski just, I find myself almost doing kind of like trying to lift my feet out of the snow to get the ski to turn. Yeah. Because it just wasn't planing at low speeds. So this ski was, we shortened it up. It's like a 175, 176. And, it's 126 underfoot. It's super fat. So my whole thing was, let's design a ski that has the surface area of the 118. Yeah. But is shorter, more nimble, floats. And instead of reducing surface area in the tail by putting a swallowtail in each ski, put a asymmetric design in the tail that reduces surface area but still maintains structural integrity. Because I think putting a swallowtail on a ski's pretty narrow. Yeah. So all of a sudden you have these two pointy toothpick almost kind of things sticking off the back that are fragile.
It's a kind of ski that'll force a person that skis in the back seat to not do that. If you ever take it out of the POW, do you know what I mean? Like if you ever get back onto the groomers or anything like that, well, you're not going to be skiing in the back seat because there's not the edge ends.
Right. Yeah, it's a fun ski. I mean, the concept is there. They sent me a prototype, which was close to the production model, but still kind of had some weird stuff going on.
Needed some tweaks.
Yeah, and it was super fun. I skied it on an upside down snow, so really heavy on top, light on the bottom, which is
in BC.
No, at Bridger Bowl actually. I tested the ski the first day.
Because you're saying it's super windy over there, right? Is it like a wind crust that you got and it was light underneath?
No, in fact, this side of the Bridgers, that we're looking at from the garage here, those get a ton of wind. The prevailing winds are out of the west, so the west-facing side of those mountains just get hammered. The east-facing side just get filled in constantly. It's crazy. I mean, you look at the mountains now; they look like they're bone dry. You drive around the other side, and they're just full of snow. Yeah. So yeah. Anyways, I got to test the ski on an upside down snowpack, which is generally hard to ski. A lot of it's a type of snow that wants to make you punch front. You're always because you're sinking. The heavy snow hits your shins, slows you down. Your upper body carries the momentum forward, and all of a sudden you're face planting and tomahawking. Yeah. And that's what was going on all day. But this ski has so much surface area. And can actually turn at a slow to moderate, speed. Yeah. That it blew my mind. I still had to lean back a little bit in that type of snow, which is you just don't want your tips to dive in that snow. Right. As soon as your tips dive in that upside down snow, you're tomahawking. And I just had a great time. Now we have the production model here. I got 2 pairs. I got one to ski tour on. We were able to interface a skin pretty easily into the bottom of the ski, and with the tip and tail being kind of asymmetric and weird, we didn't know. Mm-hmm. how that was going to work, but
So for people that are looking for it, I think it's officially the butter knife, the SR something butter
yeah,
knife. Yeah.
the SR 126.
The Shlong Rat 126 butter knife.
Well, we try to keep the Shlong Rat kind of more for those that know.
Yeah, exactly, because it's not necessarily commercially.
I don't know if
viable
the
name.
ski shops or wherever, and we made a limited run of the ski. It's not it's kind of a novelty ski.
For people that are going to be in that zone and doing that thing, right?
I mean, for me, it's a perfect ski to throw on my snowmobile on a really, after we've gotten a couple feet of snow. You're not going to go ride anything big, open, steep. You're going to go ride low angle snow in the trees. And that's, it's an early season ski especially here in Montana. We notoriously have a really bad snowpack usually till the end of February or early March. And we're forced to ride low angle terrain, safe terrain, manageable terrain, and that ski is what it's designed for, exactly that, low angle terrain in the trees.
There you go.
And it's so fun. It also, I skied some pill lines with it last winter, and it's very nimble, and I'm really looking forward to testing the ski further this winter.
That's sweet.
Yeah.
All right, so next thing we got to talk about is this movie of yours, which I got to see last night, which is really cool. Just kind of like, how would you describe it?
Well, it's a documentary. So I traditionally have worked on ski porn, if you want to call it that.
Which it was.
Yeah, we have
It's got an element.
We've got a ski porn-esque, we have a ski montage at the end of the film, which includes, some of the highlighted shots we've gotten over the last winter and a half here, and we got a cool song that we licensed from a country music artist out of Nashville. The director that I worked with on the film is from Bozeman. He actually spends most of his time in Nashville working on country music music videos for country music videos for country artists, country music artists. So he's kind of in that country scene.
Is he in the because there's so many different genres of country now.
I know.
Is it get your truck and light off some firecrackers kind of country, or is it ballad country music, or is it the hip hop country, R&B country now, which is becoming a thing?
I mean, I couldn't tell you exactly the genre he's working in, but
he works on music.
He works on music videos, and he's put together some really cool music videos, and he doesn't shoot. He's never made a ski movie. He's never shot skiing.
So he must have been pumped to be like, oh, this is a cool new thing for me.
Yeah, I mean,
is he a skier?
He snowboards 5 days a year.
Yeah.
But he's a filmmaker and he's a storyteller. So when we started discussing what we were going to do, he was, very adamant about trying to tell a story rather than, because I guess
because what shots can work well, and then
I know how to make ski porn.
Yeah, and then he knows how to tell a
story.
an engaging story, and then combining the two. That's cool. How did you end up meeting this guy?
I actually met him when I first moved to Bozeman, I didn't know that many people, and I was living by myself, and I go downtown and pony up at a bar and get dinner at night and a beer, and that's kind of how I ended up meeting some of the people that I now know here in town. The network has certainly expanded via skiing much more. The ski community here, a lot of people I know via expanding through the network.
Daryl Brighams.
So anyways, I met him. I was just sitting at a bar, and I happened to I was talking to the bartender about ski design, and then his friend recognized what we were talking about, and then he was from Billings, and he had been following my career since he was in high school.
Your buddy.
Well, yeah, and then his friend was a filmmaker.
Oh, okay, yeah.
So he was like, hey, you guys should meet. I think you guys could work together. And then I asked him initially, hey, have you ever shot in the snow? Because that was the first thing. I'm looking for a filmer. I'm a little more like tunnel vision. Filmer means shooting skiing, means making a movie.
Right.
And he suggested, no, I don't want to be out in the snow shooting you. That's not my thing. I want to
put the pieces together.
Yeah, I want to direct it, and which is a kind of a newer thing for me. So we got some funding together from some sponsors, one including the Tourism Board of Montana here, Yellowstone Country, and
who else?
Fat Tire, cheers. RMU gave us some, supported the film. BCA, De La Boot, and Big Sky Resort. So cheers to all those guys. We couldn't have made the movie happen without that. And we ended up just, hiring filmers kind of a la carte. We had Leo Ahrens, Ben Gortson. Ben Gortson's out of here.
Nice.
Yeah.
I haven't seen Leo. That's what he's doing now, isn't he?
Yep. He's incredible.
And knowing that he was a spectacularly good skier himself, and he knows angles, he knows how to shoot. If you're going to be like, I'm going to hit that, he knows how you're going to hit it, and he knows exactly how in his mind he wants it to look, and he knows exactly where to go without wasting any time, I bet. Yeah.
He's, it's always really nice to work with a filmer, cinematographer that understands how an athlete's vision is going to work, because that makes it so much easier. And in fact, the majority of our recent ski action from that film was shot by Leo.
Cool.
He killed it. And we had, 2 or 3 days over in the Beartooths where we just stacked shots. And that's true for any ski porn film. They usually, the majority of the film is shot within just a few days, even though you're shooting all year.
It's just whatever days you just happen to be lined up right, and that's where all the shots come from.
The athlete's on his game. The snow's safe. There's no avalanche danger.
Weather's good.
Sleds are working. Body's working. Whatever, all that stuff. So, anyways, he crushed for us. And we had a few other, the Benchy Creative Boys. They're out of Bozeman here. They actually made a film. They make an annual movie, and I had a part
mixtape this year, right? Yeah.
Yeah, I ended up having a part in their film this year because we approached them to help finish our film, and they said, "Hey, we're not going to work for you exclusively, but you can help us finish our movie, and we'll give you all your shots."
Yeah, just come out and ride with us, and then take what you need, and then we can add it to ours, where everybody wins.
Totally, yeah. It was a mutually beneficial thing. So we ended up working with those guys. Great dudes, local.
So back to the filmmaker guy.
Yeah, Drew Crosby.
So he was like, all right, so you got all your footage together, and then so the concept of the movie is basically kind of you and your kind of journey through skiing. Yeah, has a lot to do with your mom at the moment. If you're willing to talk about that.
Yeah, no, yeah, that's fine. So yeah, I mean, when I first moved to Bozeman, Drew didn't know me or anything, and he just said, "I want to tell your story, whatever that is. I think you got a story from what he had heard from his friends that were familiar with my career." He said, "I think you got a story to tell. Let's tell it." And I said, "I don't think I have a story to tell, but I do want to go skiing and shoot more skiing." So
yeah.
And COVID hit. We were supposed to finish the film in the spring of 2020. Well, we all know what happened spring of 2020. COVID came, everything shut down. We were sitting on a pretty good chunk of film. We had shot a lot, but I think Drew had a story, but I don't think he really quite knew what he was going to tell.
Like a framework.
Yeah, and then
did you guys spend a lot of time just chatting on the phone, getting to know each other, and
totally.
Trying for him to understand who you are and how that is going to fit within the framework, I guess. Yeah,
and I told him I've always wanted to just kind of. I've always wanted to showcase kind of the highlights over the past 10, 15 years of shooting, and mostly shooting with Level 1 and a little bit with TGR. I've wanted to kind of just touch on that. And, as Drew and I got moving with the film, there's certain things that happened. My mom was diagnosed with ALS in October 2020. That was a huge hit to me and my family. And I didn't, it was certainly had nothing to do with, Drew and I didn't even discuss including that in the film until I think April of this year. So, 8-9 months later, Drew approached me and said, "Hey, I think I'd like to include your mom in our film. Is that okay?" And I kind of was hesitant because I didn't want to
bring attention to it.
Yeah, no, I want to bring attention to ALS. I think that we are so far behind with it. I think ALS is just, it's where we were with AIDS in the 90s. There's no cure, no one, and it's
more than just dumping a bucket of water on your head.
I mean, we found a vaccine for COVID in less than a year. I think if we put the attention, if more people were getting ALS, we would have more attention being drawn to it, and we would probably have a cure for it by now. But it's a very rare disease. I think 1 in 100,000 people get it or something, or maybe more, 1 in 200,000. But it's very rare and unlikely, so it just doesn't get the attention. The cure or the treatment will probably come from stem cells. They're working on it. My mom's been in Mexico getting stem cells since the diagnosis. It's not really doing much at this point. In fact, my folks are back here in Montana. They've kind of stepped away from the stem cell thing. They're just gonna ride out life here in Montana together. So it's been incredibly hard to get the diagnosis and now be a year out and see all of the kind of the downhill that comes with the disease. And it's just, tomorrow is never once the disease is, you're only your best in the moment, you knowing that tomorrow is going to be just a little worse. Yeah. Next week is going to be a little worse. Next month, next 6 months, it's downhill every day. So it's an incredibly shitty disease. So yeah, we decided to include a small, I told you, I agreed to include a small part of it in the film. We talk about it a little bit. We had an avalanche incident last winter as well. And I think Drew did a really nice job in tying in kind of the value of spending life in the mountains, the potential for death that we all face in life, in and out of the mountains, in what it means to live life to the fullest. And that was the story that Drew ended up landing on. And I think I'm really happy with the way the film turned out. It's a very meaningful piece for me. It's something I think that we can showcase outside of the ski industry, which was the plan all along, was to make something that was relatable to people that don't even ski that much, or have only skied a little bit.
It appeals to a broader audience.
Yeah.
Right? Just because it's the story, really, right? It's the story that really transcends genres.
Yeah, it's a documentary.
And it was cool to watch, man. Like, I'd heard you mention a little bit about what was going on with your mom, but it was nice to see how it was laid up and how that she was important in your development as a skier, and her concern for you as you started to become a better skier, and some of the footage in there was really, really cool. So that was nice to see. And it's going to be nice, as you said, you're very aware of the disease and what it's going to be doing, and how much time you have left, and you're very aware of that time is valuable. Yeah. And then 5 years from now, you can look back on that movie and be like, wow, I'm glad that we did this. Right. Has your mom has seen it, I'm sure.
Oh yeah, many, many, many times. She's seen all the.
Did you watch it when you watched it with her for the first time? Was there some tears?
Oh, big time. Yeah, for sure. Big time.
Was that like a happy moment, or what was that like? Do you want to share that? Like, I'm sure that was a special moment, sad and happy, and
well, she was honored to be a part of it.
Mm-hmm. Did she know?
Yeah, she did, and I told her. I also told her if she wasn't comfortable being in it, we would pull the whole thing. And she she's a big advocate of raising awareness for ALS. And we've had some other filmmakers approach us about doing a more ALS focused film, and they spent a week with my family in Mexico and documented some of the stem cell treatments that she was getting, and interviewed her when she could still talk. She can't talk anymore. So that's pretty special to have that on camera.
Just documenting, what you have left, right?
Yeah. So that's kind of another project I'll be working on this winter, is figuring out the finer details of that project, which is more ALS focused, whereas this film is more ski and kind of me focused, and then we touch on ALS. This next project, we're hoping to shine a brighter light on ALS, and then just have I'm just going to be a part of it
with a focus of maybe like fundraising or awareness building sort of thing.
Totally.
Do you have
awareness building?
Do you have like a website or any kind of organization that you're working with, or anything that you would suggest if someone wants to go learn a bit more about it? Or
ALS.org.
Yeah, I'll put a link on our YouTube things in on the website as well. So if people want to do a little research or donate or anything, they can go visit that.
Yeah, and the film is live online too. The film
that's the next question. They can see it now as well.
The current film that we just finished, it's called A Connection to Gravity. It's online as well. I'll give you a link to share for this.
And Conrad Anker, that line came from Conrad Anker. I was sitting there watching you, and I was like, "Wait, what?"
Yeah.
He was sitting here, wasn't he?
Yep. We did the interview in this shop space.
How do you know Conrad?
So I have known Max Lowe, his son, his I guess stepson. Max Lowe is the son of the late Alex Lowe. Alex Lowe is kind of an icon in Montana, but worldwide he was a recognized mountaineer. And Alex lived in Bozeman, and he had 3 kids with his wife. Him and Conrad were best friends. Mm-hmm. They went to Pakistan, or no, they went over somewhere in that area of the world, Pakistan, India, Nepal, somewhere, and an avalanche killed Alex. Conrad came back and has since partnered. Yeah, partnered and taken over as a father figure for the children. And so anyways, I know Matt. In fact, there's a really good film that Max had just produced called Torn, and it's about that whole story. Mm-hmm. I haven't seen it yet. I'm going to go watch it next week here in Bozeman. Max is premiering a much, very high, I don't know what I want to say, just a pretty big documentary in terms of the...
you have a lot of anticipation for
yes,
it to be
I think so.
Movie, yeah.
It's produced by, I think, the Discovery Channel or National Geographic or something. Anyways, Conrad, so Max introduced me to Conrad. My first introduction to Conrad is we jumped in the plane and we flew to the Devil's Tower and we climbed and then spent the night and flew home.
Wow.
That was the first time I met him.
Cool.
Because I called Max when I moved to Bozeman. I said, hey, I know you live here. Let's go climb. And he said, well, why don't we go climb with my dad?
Yeah.
And I know his dad is.
And you're like, wait, what?
Yeah, let's go. Let's do it.
Conrad Anker, like one of the legends of climbing.
Yeah, Conrad, at the end of that trip, we swapped numbers, and Conrad and I go climb, once every month or two, we'll get out for a climb in the Gallatin. Mm-hmm. And he's got a whole bunch of kind of sneaky little zones up there that he's developed, and I get to go climb with him, and it's great. I learn a lot every time I go with him. And
just in life too, he's probably got
a lot
heaps of information.
Totally.
And snippets to share.
Yeah.
Right?
And, I certainly look to him as a bit of a mentor, and just Drew and I thought it would be good to get some of his insight, even though it's not directly related to skiing. I think, his just the way he sees life was worth, putting in our film. That's
cool, man. Yeah, I was like, Conrad Anker, like, yeah, nice. You got to get him to pump that up.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
Well, so you've got, that kind of covers a lot of what we were chatting about, what we got to cover for this week. I know you got to go to the venue and set up some of the sound for the Powtown Revival Tour tonight. If you're listening to this, if you missed it, it was a week ago. I'm probably back at home by now. But this is my first time to Bozeman. We've been here for not even 24 hours, and we've done a lot already. Lots of fun stories to tell. And we've actually got a couple more. I love how you're just like, I just set up shop. There's going to be like 2 or 3 more episodes today alone. So the next few are going to be done right here in the Wiley Miller Fat Tire Podcast Studios.
Yes, sir.
But yeah, man. So there's a bunch of stuff we didn't even really get to. Maybe we can do a bonus version.
Yeah.
When we get back and we're loaded, we'll do like a secret.
We'll do one at 2 a.m. tonight.
Yeah. So what do you got? Anything people got to know? Where can they find that movie again?
We have the film is living on Vimeo on demand right now.
I'll link it to the Low Pressure site. So on this YouTube video, I'll have a link to it, and then we'll put it on the website, and then we'll put links on the thing. But yeah, man, thanks, buddy.
Yes, thanks for having me, Mark.
Thanks for having me at your house. Thanks for making it easy. Like I said, I just came up with this idea literally 6 days ago. I'm like, maybe I'll go to Jackson and Bozeman for a few days.
The border's open. Got to take advantage,
right?
Now.
Hang out.
I need to come up.
Hang out with Amy and Todd. Hang out with you. Going to meet a bunch of new people. Get some cool episodes and make some contacts, because winter's coming, and it's always nice to have couches to crash on and beds, like full-size queen beds on a pulley in a garage. I can't see it, but just anyways, this place is rad. Anyways, thanks for your hospitality. Thanks for coming on the show, and we'll party tonight. Pay attention to the Instagram.
All right, cheers, Mark.
See you, bye.
You've been listening to the Low Pressure Podcast. the podcast for skiers. This has been a Redmark Media production.